Ladies and gentlemen, everybody knows and loves Dr. Peter Gray. However, today I have something better. Dr. Peter Gray's grandfather. At least this is how I like to call him. Our guest today is Tom Durrie. Do I pronounce it correctly, Tom? Tom? Tom Durrie.
Yes.
Hello, Tom.
Hello.
Tom was born in 1931. Let me spell it for you. That's 1931. Tom is older than the Empire State Building, and he is in much better shape. Tom's new book is School and the End of Intelligence: The Erosion of Civilized Society. Guys, welcome Tom Durrie. Audience is muted, but I see smiling faces. I see smiling faces, lots of clapping. If anybody has a question, please raise your hand. Tom revealed in his writing that the formula for his longevity is his curiosity. So he's been curious all his life. You can deduce from his saying that if you want to live long, don't send kids to school, because at school kids lose curiosity. So that's the main ingredients for that longevity. So my question will be about passion. Tom, you could have been spending your time with your grandchildren, but you decided to write a book. What made you write about school and intelligence?
Oh, well, this is something I've had in mind for a long time. Um, I guess, well, I went to Prescott College in Arizona in around 2000, 1999, 2000, and I got a master's degree in counseling psychology, which I was interested in at the time. And my faculty advisor said, "Oh, you may want to write a book." And I thought, gosh, yeah, I should do that. Now that was what, only 20 some years ago. And so I had already started a book, actually. It was called 10 Arguments for the Elimination of School. And I wrote about half of it, I think, and actually have used some of that in the present book. And anyway, after about halfway through, I got too involved in other things. I was managing a Baroque orchestra in Vancouver. I had run an arts festival on Hornby Island in British Columbia, and was just chasing around over a lot of other things, and wrote a few blog pieces and that kind of thing. Then came the pandemic, and here I am stuck in Boston Bar in the middle of nowhere and not going anywhere. So I thought, well, let me get down to writing. And so I did. And I just really started poking around with things that interested me. And so it developed that way. So I sometimes wonder about this book in that way, and that it may not have a kind of consistent argument throughout. But my idea was essentially to present a lot of information, factual information, historical information, etc., and assume that people will draw their own conclusions about all of the promises that school has made since it's been 150 years or so since we've had compulsory school attendance, and what a complete failure it has been in doing what it says it does. In fact, when I was a teacher, I don't know if you know that, I was the story gets complicated. But anyway, yeah, I was a graduate student in Los Angeles in music history, which was my major and still is a great fascination of mine. And my we well, my wife became pregnant, and I guess it was kind of on purpose. But then obviously I had to be the one to make the money, so I got a job as a teacher. It was very, very easy. This was 1956, I guess. There was a great teacher shortage, so I took one stupid course for one summer and then became a teacher. And it didn't take long to realize, wait a minute, this school system is a disaster. It does not do, it's really not, doesn't really educate or inform or anything else. It's essentially there to make sure that people remain ignorant and stupid. and it's very good at that. There's no question about that. So I didn't get out of school teaching for 10 years. I had to keep supporting my then growing family. But finally, in 1967, I was offered a job at an alternative school in Vancouver. And so took that. That was about that school fell apart because these so-called progressive parents were not really prepared for what their kids were going to do once all of the constraints were taken away. They thought, oh well, they will all rush to the books and wanting to learn things and everything. Of course not. They go, as anyone with experience working with children, once you remove the controls, the kids will go nuts because they've been under pressure for so long that they simply explode. And you got to put up with that for a couple of months. It can be fun and exciting, a bit dangerous. You have to keep an eye out so keep nobody kills anybody. Anyway, that was what happened. And so about half of the parents in that school, so this was a private school in Vancouver, half of the parents supported me and half didn't. So the half that supported me split off, and we started our own school, which was the Saturna Island Free School. And it was a school on one of the Gulf Islands here, Saturna Island. We were able to buy an absolutely spectacularly beautiful piece of property with a very old house and a number of outbuildings. And we started that year just not having the slightest clue what we were doing, but we had about 30 kids signed up, all ages, I think like 5 to 17. And it had to be a boarding school, of course, so we got food, and the parents paid, I think it was then about $1,000 a year, which is pretty reasonable. Um, and it was, a wonderful madhouse. It was like a large community of kids and grown-ups, and it was fantastic. I won't go into why it all fell apart. I'll talk forever. But any other questions?
Creativity takes you from the question of passion in writing a book to the history. So actually the central topic of the discussion today.
Well, that's why I wanted to write the book, because
Exactly.
I saw how disastrous the public school system was, and how advantageous this kind of the idea of the free school, where there is no structure really other than that which is created by the people that are living together there. And it's very similar to the Summerhill idea, where there are no demands other than that, A.S. Neal says, you're free to do whatever you like as long as you don't interfere with someone else's freedom. So, and he called it freedom, not license. You can't go around bashing people over the head. But if you don't want to participate in games or lessons or anything, you don't have to. You can do whatever you like, again, as long as you don't harm somebody else.